everyone, I'm Allie from Yoga Rove, and today I'm going to be showing you the 33 most common yoga poses you'll see in a yoga practice, along with modifications to help you get started. For sake of time, I'm not going to be covering the step-by-step of each pose, but if you are interested in that, you can check out our article in the description box below where I cover all the steps. And now let's get to it. In easy seat, imagine a string pulling you from the top of your head to help you have a nice long spine. You can always sit on a blanket to help you sit taller. In butterfly, think of your knees gently sinking to the floor. If having your feet in close bothers you, you can always push them farther out. Hero is great for stretching your quads and ankles, but can feel really intense if you have tightness in those areas. Sit on a block to better control the depth of the stretch. Imagine your seat sinking down toward your heels in child's pose, but remember it's okay if you don't sink down all the way. If you have some leftover space, you can always use a blanket to help you feel more supported. Tabletop is a common base pose used in yoga practices. Bring awareness to your core here and find a light engagement, enough so you can still breathe deeply. If your wrists bother you, try rolling your mat up to support them. Cat-cow is a flow of two poses that you cycle between on your inhales and exhales. Come into cow where you see a slight arch in my back on your inhale, and come into cat where you see me rounding my back on your exhale. Seated cat-cow is a great alternative if being on your hands and knees for a longer period bothers you. Focus on pressing that away from you while you engage your core in plank. If this is too intense, try dropping your knees. Contrary to popular belief, it is completely okay if your heels don't touch the ground in your down dog. The main thing you want to focus on here is sending your hips up and back. Having a deep bend in the knees is a great option if you have tighter hamstrings. One of the most important things to focus on in your crescent lunge is squaring your hips forward. Keep a light engagement in the core to protect your low back, and sink your hips forward if you'd like a deeper stretch. Use a blanket under your knee if you find some discomfort here. Before you fold in your half split, first focus on squaring and making sure both hips are even. Flex your foot, and then if you feel comfortable, you can fold forward. Try not to let your chest collapse when you're in runner's lunge by engaging your core and drawing your shoulders down and back, and feel free to drop the back knee. Keeping your core engaged in high lunge will help protect your low back by maintaining more of a neutral spine. If you lack shoulder mobility like I do and this feels like a struggle, try bringing your hands to prayer. In warrior one, you want to keep your hips squared like in high lunge, but your back heel is grounded and on an angle. Feel free to bring your feet as wide as your mat. In warrior two, my front heel is in line with the middle of my back arch. The hips are not squared like warrior one, they are open to the side of your mat. Feel free to lessen the bend in the front knee to make this less intense. In side angle, imagine your chest rotating open towards the upper corner of the room, and use a block if you find your side collapsing towards your front thigh. Triangle, just like side angle, try to avoid your side collapsing downward and engage your muscles to stay lifted. Using a block can help you if you need a little more length. Before folding in wide-legged fold, make sure to pivot your feet so your toes are facing more inwards and your heels outwards. Fold from your hips until a point where you feel a good stretch, and come onto blocks if you need to. Some people teach to keep your heels aligned in pyramid pose, but this can be really challenging for balance when you're a beginner, so feel free to keep your feet hip distance and use blocks here to help control the intensity. Mountain is a base pose for many standing poses. Imagine pressing all four corners of your feet into the mat to help you feel more stable and grounded. You can also widen your stance here if that helps you balance better. In tree pose, make sure to never place your foot directly on your knee joint. You can place it above the knee, on your thigh, or below on your shin or ankle. Grab a chair or wall nearby for some extra balance support. In chair, try to send your weight back towards your heels instead of towards your toes. Keep your core engaged to avoid your back swaying, and bring your hands to prayer position if arms overhead feels like too much. Standing forward fold gives you a great hamstring stretch, and no, you don't need to touch your toes in order to do so. Keep a micro bend in your knees here instead of locking them to avoid injury, and this is another pose where blocks can be super helpful. Coming into half lift, simply draw your shoulders down and back to come into a flat back. This could mean fingertips are as low as the floor or as high as your thighs, whatever feels good to you and your hamstring flexibility allows. In upward salute, reach up towards the sky as you maintain your awareness and grounding through your feet to maintain stability. Step your feet out wider here for a larger base. Drop your shoulders away from your ears in baby cobra to avoid straining your neck. If you feel discomfort in your low back here, try bringing your feet out as wide as your mat. Keep your chest nice and lifted in boat pose and squeeze legs together to activate the hip flexors and properly engage the core. You can also keep the feet grounded on the mat. Just like in standing forward fold, it's not a requirement to touch your toes here, and keeping a micro bend in the knees can help avoid injury. Using a strap here can help you gain more control over the intensity. Staff pose is very similar to easy seat, except the fact that your legs are straight, which can make this pose even more challenging, so using a blank to elevate the hips here can really help. In bridge pose, imagine squeezing an imaginary block between your thighs to help you engage your muscles and avoid the knees splaying out. You can also do this on a block for more support. In happy baby, you're grabbing onto your outer feet while pulling them towards the mat to get a deep hip stretch. This can feel super intense for some people, so doing one leg at a time in half happy baby is a great option. In reclined pigeon, you're pressing the knee of the leg closest to you away while you're pulling the farther leg in closer. You can also do this without pulling your leg in and just focus on pressing that knee away from you for a nice hip stretch. Press both shoulders into the ground in a reclined twist and try to avoid your upper body twisting with your lower body. You can keep both knees bent and even place a block under your knees to lessen the intensity here. I miscounted, so here's a bonus pose, reclined butterfly. So just in seated butterfly, you're imagining your knees sinking to the ground, and in this more restorative version, placing blocks under the knees can be really nice. And one of the most underrated poses, Shavasana. Allow your body to completely melt into the floor here and let everything go. I like to do a quick body scan, and if you have lower back tension, a blanket under the knees can be really helpful. So now that you know the basic yoga poses and how you can modify them to bring your practice to the next level, the absolute next best video to watch is this one right here.